pharma who wants us to be sick. And then it's brilliant. It's a brilliant strategy. Okay, this is what works best. So I realized it's not just dogs that do this. Virtually every species instinctively stops eating. And I said, okay, I'm going to start fasting. And actually came across a book called Rational Fasting by Professor Arnold Ehret. And Ehret was talking about people going weeks without food. And I thought, okay, I mean, it resonated with me, like it made sense, but it also seemed really radical, pretty crazy. And so I thought, I'm going to work on this. Now, I had some familiarity with fasting. I'm Jewish, but only on my parents' side. Not religious at all, never interested in that. So I'd fasted one day every year, right? I knew I could do that. I thought, I'll try 2 days, and I'm going to park myself close to the refrigerator just in case. Because I really didn't know if I could survive 2 days with it. I mean, I think most people think if they skip lunch, they might die. Right? Okay, you know, the truth is, I mean, imagine what a ridiculous design that would be. Because in nature, what happens? In nature, there are fires and floods and droughts and freezes if you're in the wrong climate. And there may not be food available. Animals sometimes have to go a long time between meals. Okay, but most people really believe they have to eat, right? You're gonna drive to LA. How far is that? You told me 5 hours to San Diego. Okay, LA is what, 4.5 hours? I better bring some food, because what if I get a flat tire? I might die on the highway, right? No, it doesn't work that way. But that's what people think.
The deep healing starts at 21 days.
So I began fasting, and amazing things happened. Amazing things shifted. I fasted a lot more than I should have. I didn't know what I was doing because my teachers were dead. I found another dead guy who had a book. Herbert Shelton. Great stuff, but I couldn't ask him questions. I was on my own. And this may be hard. How old are you?
Going to be 35.
Okay. All right. So maybe you can understand, but there was no internet back then. Crazy, right? Crazy. We had a search engine. It was called the Yellow Pages. It was a giant phone book. You look under fasting, you know what it said? Nothing. There was nothing there. There was no fasting. I was on my own, and so I made a lot of mistakes. I worked it out over time. I did a lot of fasting. I have now fasted more than 3.5 years of my life cumulatively. Yeah. And amazing things were happening for me. And I was in the commercial real estate business. I have a background in finance. I got into brokering financing on commercial real estate projects. And I figured I'm going to make a lot of money. I'm going to retire and figure out what I want to do with my life afterwards. And by the time I was 30, 32, somewhere in there, I thought, you know what? I'm helping wealthy, excuse my French here, assholes often get richer. I don't need to do this. I had a lot of people asking me for help because what happened was people who hadn't seen me in a little while, I'd been sick for 3 years, really dragging myself around for 3 years. And then everything shifted for me. And I'd run into people and they'd say, oh my God, you look amazing. What did you do? After I talked about the plastic surgery and Botox, I didn't do it. I told them what I did, and they said, can you help me? Can you help my parent? Can you help my kid, my partner? And I thought, you know what? I'm going to be a health coach. And that's what I did. After a few years, my coaching clients knew that I was fasting myself. I was still fasting a lot. In the early, first 8 years, I fasted a lot. And they kept asking me to guide them through the process. I didn't really feel like I was qualified. But ultimately, I looked around. By then, I knew there were places you could go. But I looked at them and I thought, I wouldn't want to spend a month in a place like this. They were super clinical, not a place I'd want to be. And I thought, I'm going to create the best fasting center in the world. And that's what I did. We started off outside of Washington, D.C. in a big house in Bethesda. Within a couple of years, we had outgrown the space. We had space there for 9 guests. We outgrew it. We moved to a much bigger place on 17 acres on top of a mountain in western Maryland. I renovated the place so that I could take up to 18 guests there. But my goal already was Central America. Because remember, I'm living on a fruit-based diet in Maryland, beautiful place, where we had cold, snowy winters, and I'm thinking, first of all, I don't like wearing long pants, I don't like wearing shoes, and I want to be in a place where I can be in the water and pick fruit off the trees every day. And so I had my sights set on Central America. I finally made the move 22 and a half years ago, and for the last 29 years until February, mid-February, I ran the world's largest dedicated water-only fasting center. I've now guided more than 12,000 people from 156 countries through water-only fasts, averaging 26 days. I'm glad you're sitting there.
I was going to ask how long is the fast for?
I was going to tell you, but then I told you.
I better wait.
Right? 26 days sounds crazy to most people, okay? But I can tell you, I've had many people who were very lean go as long as 42 days and more when they had very little to start with. You take someone who's very lean, and what happens is they lose weight much more slowly because the body's intelligent, and so it reduces metabolism, so they can go much longer. Someone who's very heavy, and I'll tell you something really fascinating. A few years ago, I had two people. I would have 32 people fasting on average, fasting at the same time at my center in Costa Rica, and it was spectacular. There was a guy fasting with me for the first time. His first fast was 45 days. He was 6'1", 6'2", 340 pounds when he started. There was a woman fasting with me for the third time. She's a doctor, actually. She is 5'6", and she weighed 85 pounds when she started. So he was literally 4 times her size. Okay? 4 times her size. We're measuring body fat, muscle mass, water in the body every day, and he's losing 2 to 3 pounds a day. She's losing 1 to 3% of a pound of fat. This is a fat. She's losing 1 to 3% of a pound of fat per day. He's literally losing 100 times more body fat than she is. Okay? This is what happens when someone's very large, they lose weight very quickly. When they're fasting, when someone's very lean, they lose weight very quickly. As long as it's done properly, perfectly safe for both people, and I've seen amazing things happen. So, let me give you a few examples. Hypertension, we talked earlier about before some of you arrived. 71, according to recent statistics, 71% of Americans have hypertension. It's crazy, amazing, insane. 71% of Americans, high blood pressure. I've worked with more than 1,500 people who self-identified as being hypertensive, like they've been diagnosed with hypertension. 100% of those people reduced their blood pressure significantly. All but 3 of them in their 70s completed the process with their blood pressure still above 120 by 5 or 6 points. But these are people who started with their blood pressure 175, 180. Okay? Everybody else completed the process with blood pressure below 120 with no need for medication. Okay, this is all unmedicated. Type 2 diabetes, more than 200 clients, 100% off medications, perfectly healthy blood sugar. Okay, our bodies are meant to heal themselves. In fact, while everybody's looking for magic bullets, years ago, I'm walking down the street with my girlfriend at the time, Washington, D.C. Beautiful, beautiful spring day, blue skies, sunshine, flowers, the perfume of flowers in the air. We're walking down the sidewalk holding hands. We pass a middle-aged woman, and a moment later we hear, "Excuse me." We both look over our shoulders, and she's turned around and is facing us. So we turn around and walk back to her. And I said, can we help you? I thought maybe she was lost or something, needed directions. She said, "Excuse me, I've never seen 2 people who look as healthy as you 2. What do you do?" And we proceeded to talk to her about fasting and the raw vegan vegetarian diet. And she said, "Okay, thank you," and hurried off as quickly as she could. I'm sure she was hoping we were going to tell her what magic supplement we were using, which powder, which juice. Everyone wants a magic bullet. They don't want to do the work. They don't want to change anything. They want the easiest possible way to get where they want to go. And I understand it's human nature. There are no magic bullets. There are no easy tricks. Okay? The way we get health, it's actually the simplest thing in the world. Now, everyone here realizes, I hope, that simple and easy are two different things. Okay? Simplest thing in the world, here's what you do. You fast long enough to get the garbage out of your body. I'm going to say more about that in a minute. Okay? You give your body the chance to heal everything, to detoxify as much as it needs to, and then you meet all of its needs the way that nature intended for this organism. Because we can eat whatever we want. You can go to a grocery store where you've got more than 50,000 items, probably 50 or 60 of which are actually food that belongs in the body. Okay, all the rest, not so much. Not so much. This is the key. Now, when I talk about getting rid of the garbage, again, there's a natural diet for every species, and every species on the planet eats a high water content diet. Right? I said this. It might have been Facebook somewhere in a conversation. I don't remember, a few years ago, and someone said, "That's not true. The desert crab." Probably have them here in Arizona. The desert crab eats only dry seeds. And I thought, well, that's crazy because water's life. How do they survive? So I did some research. The person was right. The desert crab eats only seeds. Guess how the crab determines which seeds to eat and which ones not to eat?
High water in them.
Based on water content. They eat the highest water content seeds they can find. Okay? Water is absolutely necessary for life. Okay? So every species eats a high water content diet. But not all humans do that. How many of you here, I'm guessing it's 100%, have eaten corn chips? Has anyone here not had corn chips? You had corn chips? Yeah. You look like the kind of guy who would have had corn chips.
Oh my gosh.
Everybody's had corn
I
chips.
feel guilty because I worked for the GMO. I made E. coli immune to.
I think it's all your fault.
Yeah, I know, it is.
I'm pretty sure it's all your fault.
It was in George Washington Carver High School in '91.
If you ever have any problems, it's probably Jonas's fault.
Can I
Get
ask,
that out on the
can I
table
ask
now.
one
No,
question?
sorry.
Oh,
There's a whole lot of questions for you.
all right.
So,
Sorry.
I'm going to ask you a question. Okay, how much water do you think corn chips have?
Negative.
Negative water?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's possible. They're actually 3% water. And if that sounds like a lot,
Very
first of all,
little.
if something was completely dry, as soon as you expose it to the air, which contains some moisture, it would absorb some moisture. So it's impossible for something to be completely dry unless it's sealed.
Yeah.
And if that sounds crazy, white bread, does everyone eat white bread? White bread is 50% water. 3% is pretty low. Okay? Now here's the question. You eat those corn chips. You ate those corn chips. Did they come back out of your body as dry as they went in?
No
You better
way.
hope not.
Oh God. Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Be constipated.
Okay? You better hope not. Constipated would be the best thing that could happen. If they're exiting your body, you're in trouble. Okay? If they're stuck in there, you're better off. All right? So what happens? They go in 3% water. Stool on average is 75% water. Where's the water come from? It's taking it from your body. Okay? This is why I've measured well over 8,000 people. Guess what percentage, guess how many of those people are within, let's say, 8%, 10% of actually being well hydrated.
One, maybe two.
There have been maybe 3 people within 10% out of well over 8,000. Everybody else is very dehydrated. Some people are seriously dehydrated, severely dehydrated. Okay? Typically what happens is, the older we get, the more dehydrated we are. And the reason for that is because the way most people eat, they're becoming more dehydrated every day. Okay? Dried foods, you asked about dried fruit earlier. What is dried fruit going to do? It's going to take water from your body. What do dehydrated foods do? They take water from your body. Salt takes water from your cells to protect you because it's toxic to you. Okay, don't eat salt. I gave up salt well over 40 years ago. Don't eat it. Peppers, spices, dehydrate. Vinegar, alcohol, sodas, coffee and tea. These are all diuretics. They make you pee out water. You're becoming more dehydrated. That's what goes on. Now, here's the tough one. Sorry. For all of you, this is a beautiful place, but you know what? Living in this climate, it's a lot harder to stay hydrated because the air is so dry. Right? We're tropical animals. We're meant to be in wet tropics. When you live in a desert climate, your body sweats to cool down. You're losing water. Right? The sweat evaporates, cools the skin down. That's why we sweat. It's the primary reason for sweating. But it's harder to be hydrated living in the desert than it is living in a humid place. Just something to be aware of. What it means, it doesn't mean you can't live here. It means you want to be even more careful about what you're doing. All right? Now let's back up. All the things, so every species has a natural diet. Let me start there. Every species has a natural diet. That natural diet for species is high water content foods. For our bodies, in order to get through this long term, in fact, from the bottom of the stomach, most people think their stomach is down here, right? Your colon runs across the middle of your belly. Your stomach is actually up here, okay? Ileocecal valve is where the small intestine stops, large intestine starts. From here to here, which is about, what, 12 inches on my torso, there's roughly 22 feet of small intestine. Your large intestine, the colon, is only about as long as your height. So my colon is about 6 feet long, my small intestine is 22 feet long, okay? It's 1/3 the diameter. Large intestine is 1.5 inches, the small intestine is only 1/2 inch in diameter. It's sacculated like a vacuum cleaner hose. Now that happens to increase the surface area. And if you want to know how effective that is, think of it this way. Actually, I forget exactly the numbers now, but I'll try to ballpark it for you. If we have 22 feet by 1/2 inch, that would be 11 square feet, right? 11 square feet of surface area. The actual surface area of your small intestine is well over that of a tennis court. If you were to take it all unfolded, it's enormous. That allows us to absorb as many nutrients as possible, okay? But in order to get through this small intestine, we need the fiber. Anybody ever make handmade paper? Everyone familiar with handmade paper? You ever see cards, note paper that's handmade paper? You might see seeds in it sometimes, and it's cool things, right? How do they make that? Anyone know? You take a bunch of paper, you tear it up, or you put it in a blender, you mix it up with an egg beater, and then you take it with water, and you spread it out over a stream and let it dry. Now you had 1 million tiny pieces of paper after it came through the blender. How does it all stick together? Anyone?
Water?
Well, the water dries. Why does it still stick together?
The fiber. The fiber.
The fiber hold it together. Exactly.
The mesh.
The fibers hold it together. We're meant to eat foods, only to eat foods high in water and fiber. When we eat things that don't have any fiber, it's very hard to get them through this very long, torturous, so I mean, imagine, 22 feet in that space, it's all twists and turns. Without the fiber to pull it all through, we have trouble eliminating everything. This is why there's old, hard waste, mucoid plaque, stuck in your small intestine. And some people say it doesn't exist. Those people haven't fasted long enough or properly. Let me tell you just one, and I'm going to start off and tell you, this is an extreme case, but it proves the point, okay? I had a young woman fast with me a couple of years ago. She was 27 years old. She's 5'7", and weighed 99.5 pounds. So she was pretty lean. Not super lean. I mean, I had a woman fast with me 5'7", 88 pounds. They both for 21 days. This woman did 30 days, starting at 99.5 pounds. She lost 22 pounds, which isn't very much for that length of a fast. Most people would lose more. But she was 77 pounds at the end of the process. And you'd look at her, 5'7", and think, there can't be anything in there, right? How could there be anything in there? Look how skinny she is. She began refeeding for more than 6 months, eating an average of 3 meals a day. She had an average of 10 bowel movements every day for more than 6 months. Okay, so I can say something to all of you guys without pissing you off, I hope, because most people can't get away with it, okay? If you've been eating conventionally most of your life, you are full of shit. Okay, that's what happens. And it's not coming out of your body until you fast long enough and properly. You can do all the salt flushes you want. Enemas and colloids, are they going to help? What do you think?
That was my question.
There's a valve that separates the large and small intestine. You put water in the back door, it's not going to go past the ileocecal valve. All the old material's on the other side of that valve, in the small intestine. Now, don't get me wrong, enemas and colloids do flush out material. They'll flush out old material, the material that's not your lifetime old, but old that's, that might have been there for 2, 3, 4 weeks, that should have left the body in 8 to 12 hours, but instead it's taken much longer than that because your system's not efficient. It's going to eliminate some of that stuff. Have you heard of your gut biome? Anyone know what the gut biome is?
Microbiome.
Microbiome, what is
Flora
it?
and fauna in the gut.
Bacteria.
It's bacteria. It's 10 trillion bacteria, 3 pounds of bacteria. It's called the second brain, and it weighs as much as your first brain,
Our immune system.
which is 3 pounds. It has a lot to do with the body's immune function. Okay, this gut biome. Flush a bunch of water in, and guess what happens? You're flushing out some of the bacteria that you need
Yeah.
to survive and be healthy.
Yeah.
Okay, you weaken the bowel, you alter the pH, and you reduce your body's ability to eliminate. You have poorer bowel function after enemas and colonics. Okay, here's what I've learned over the years. Every time we attempt to manipulate the body into creating a particular outcome, we create unintended negative side effects. Okay, we're much better off remembering that healing and detoxification are biological processes. What does that mean?
They're
They
always going to
happen
happen.
naturally. The,
Who can cleanse or heal the body?
Only
the
itself.
body.
the body, yeah.
Let me tell you a funny story. I was in Dublin. Excuse me. I was in Dublin too. I was in Belfast, Ireland, teaching a full-day seminar. I've got a group of 50 or so people, and I said to the room, "There's only one thing on this planet that can heal your body." And a hopeful voice from the back of the room said, "You?"
Yourself.
No, it's not me. It's your body.
yourself.
Only your body can heal your body. Okay, that's the only thing. So the way we get healthy is we get out of the body's way. We let it do what only the body can do, right? Because nothing else can heal you. What happens for most people is they're constantly in the way. If you're eating when the body needs to heal, it's not going to be able to heal. If you're being active, remember, what does the dog do? What was the dog's name?
Rest.
Reject.
Reject. What did reject do?
Rested.
It-
Hide and be lethargic.
It just laid there. It didn't move. They don't do anything. People say to me, I mean, I had this conversation like 3 times today. Okay, I'm gonna share with you about a program we've just unrolled, we just launched. And over the last 10 days, I've had 18 calls every day with people interested in this program. If I look a little tired, I am. I haven't had much sleep. 18 calls takes a lot of my time. 3 times today, I had a conversation with someone where I said to them, have you ever seen a dog get sick enough to refuse to eat? And they'd say, yeah. Most people have seen that. What does it do? And they would say, most people say, sleeps all day. This may come as a shock. You know, in English, we talk about oversleeping. People say, oh, I overslept. I slept too many hours. Impossible. There's a crazy thing that happens when your body gets all the sleep it needs. It wakes up. Okay, it can't keep sleeping when it has all the sleep it needs. The dog is the same. You can't sleep 24 hours unless you're in a coma, which is different. Dog can't sleep 24 hours either, but you think it's sleeping because it lays there, not moving. It may change position every once in a while, just as we do when we're asleep. It lays there with its eyes closed. Why? Why is that important? You know how, Steve, you're recording this, right? So there could be there's a video file, there could be an audio file. Which will take more memory, more space on the disk? Well, the video takes a lot more space. It's a lot more data. In the same way, when your eyes are open, you're taking in visual information as you are right now. It's some of the best visual information around. If you take in visual information, what happens? Up to 60% of your brain is lighting up with that incoming visual information. That's why, when you're tired, what do you instinctively do? Close your eyes. We turn off all those circuits we don't need, and we're resting because your brain uses about 35% of your body's energy. Okay? So we turn those circuits off, we can rest much more. That's what every other species does. That's what we want to do. When people tell me, oh, I fast, nothing happened. What were you doing? Well, I was working and I was drinking coffee and tea and taking electrolytes. But it was a fast. No, it actually wasn't. It's not fasting if you're taking anything but water. And if you want to get real benefits, you need to be resting as completely as possible. And this isn't easy to do. It's not an easy process. You got to be clear about that. Okay? Because when you're detoxing, it doesn't always feel good. This is, again, remember, this is what being sick is. Toxins are being dumped into your bloodstream. People say, all the time I hear people say, fasting is difficult or fasting is painful. That is not true. That's not true. I'll tell you something. When I was running the fasting center, we would run sessions. There would be 10-week sessions, and then we would close for about 4 weeks. Because after doing this for many, many years, I ran the center for 29 years. I was working 12 hours a day when we were open. So I got to a point I was like, okay, we're not going to be open all the time. We're going to operate for 10 weeks. I'm going to take a 4-week break. That's when I have time to surf and mountain bike and do the things I like doing, and travel and speak, and then we'll come back and open again. So during the breaks is when I had the time to be the most active. I would sometimes injure myself. So over the last 10 years, it wasn't unusual. Once every year and a half or so, we'd open a session. I had just arrived back to the center, and because I've been traveling, and I was injured. So I'm fasting. We open the session, and I'm fasting. By the time we're a few days into the fast, I got clients laying around like this because they're feeling so bad. They're rough. They have low energy. They're in pain. I'm walking around normally. I'm giving lectures every single day for an hour, and I wouldn't tell anyone until I broke the fast. And then I would say, "Oh, by the way, I didn't eat anything for the last 10 days. I just had my first meal." And they'd be like, "What?" Fasting is not painful. Fasting is not difficult. Fasting isn't uncomfortable. Detoxification is difficult and uncomfortable.
Toxemia.
And if you want to get your health to a high level, you have to get the toxins out of your body. There is no other way. Okay? But I still want to come back to this old material. Let's come back to the old material in the body. If you've eaten things, and is anybody here that grew up eating only fruit and salad?
My mom and Wigmore stuff, but yeah.
Right. So most of us grew up eating probably more or less normal, right? I grew up dry cereal, toast, a lot of water in that. No. A lot of fiber in that? No. No, the fiber is processed out of these things. These grain products have virtually no fiber. Whole grain bread. Is that whole grain? What do you think?
No.
No, absolutely not. It's a name. It's a marketing ploy. It's not really whole grain. You wouldn't be able to eat the whole grain. Okay, we're not grain eaters naturally. So grains are heavily processed before you eat them. Okay, so there's not much fiber in these foods. The loaf of bread in the grocery store that you can buy in a cellophane bag, plastic bag, are now considered ultra-processed foods. There's another word for that. It's shorter than ultra-processed foods. Garbage. They're garbage. Okay. Don't eat this stuff if you care about your health. If you insist on eating it sometimes, you can do whatever you want, but if you want to be healthy, eating ultra-processed foods isn't going to help you. Okay? It's not going to help you. So, but here's what happens. The stuff gets stuck in there. And every time you eat and drink, let's say we drink water. I'll take a little sip of water, the water goes into my mouth, goes down my throat, goes into my stomach, goes into the small intestine. But if the small intestine is lined with this old hard material, what happens? The old hard material absorbs the water. You're eating watermelon, other high water content fruits, salads are high in water. But as the material goes all the way through your digestive tract, much of the water is being absorbed by what I call the giant sponge of old material. Okay, it's a giant sponge. That's what happens. You're going to see people online saying, "Oh, water dehydrates you." Someone said this to me recently. I said, "You're absolutely right. Water dehydrates you in the exact same way that food takes nutrients from your body and breathing air takes oxygen away from you." That's the exact opposite of what's happening. Hydration is about how much water's in your body. Water can't dehydrate you. But what's happening is they drink water and they start to rehydrate that old waste even more. Now it's absorbing water from the body. So they're kind of right, but it's only because there's a giant sponge in there that shouldn't be there. The key is we have to get rid of it. Until we get rid of it, hydration is impossible. Okay? Steve, you said earlier, I told you were dehydrated when we met 12 or 13 years, maybe 15 years ago. Probably my first time here was 15 or 16 years ago. The reason I would have said that was because we're about the same age, I'm a couple years older than you, but you had more wrinkles on your face than I did, even back then. That's what I would have seen. That tells me someone's more or less hydrated than they should be. Okay? Much of what we think of as normal aging is actually chronic dehydration, long-term chronic dehydration. Now think about this. I was actually in Scottsdale, I want to say 14, 15 years ago, speaking at a vegan restaurant. And I had a group of people who were all 60 plus. In fact, I asked the group, raise your hand if you're under 60. And one person, the woman who brought me there, raised her hand. Everybody else was over 60. I said, okay, raise your hand if you don't wear glasses, lenses, or haven't had corrective surgery. Nobody raised their hand. every single person there over 60 wore glasses, lenses, or had corrective surgery. Anybody know what the number one age-related cause of vision loss is?
Dehydration?
Well,
Maybe.
let's talk about what they call it. What's the name for it? It's called macular degeneration. The macula deforms. Your eye is a ball of jelly. It's made of water. It's like 97% water. And it's deforming over time because your body doesn't have enough water to do what it needs to do. And so it's taking water away from things that are not critical to your survival. Now, eyes are pretty important, but has anyone here seen Stevie Wonder's new piano? Anyone seen that? No, he's never seen it either. He's what? He's in his 70s, I think? He's been blind since he was a child. Okay? He's lived a long time without sight. You don't need vision to survive. But if you don't have enough water to support your heart, lungs, liver, kidney, pancreas, thyroid, brain, you're dead. So your body, if you're dehydrated, your body says, I'm going to give the water to those places in bloodstream that are absolutely critical to survival. I'm going to take it away from the things that are not critical. Like what? Like vision, like eyes. A little pool of water right there. Joints. Okay, cartilage is mostly water. Synovial fluid is like 99% water. Arthritis develops as we get older because we become dehydrated. Okay, it's the primary reason. Skin wrinkles, dehydration.